Welcome to part 2 of the NoFap Timeline. In part 1 we discussed the NoFap Timeline for those who are not addicted or for those who have only a very mild addiction. And in this video we are going to take a look at the NoFap Timeline for those who have developed real addiction related brain changes. You see, the timeline looks different depending on in which of those categories you are. Hey, it's Scandinavian Bob here. This channel is all about becoming the strongest version of yourself by using interesting biological hacks, discovering smart self-improvement strategies, and by using psychological tricks. So consider subscribing, click on the little bell icon, and let's get going. First, I just have to point out that the timeline is not set in stone. It needs to be taken with a grain of salt because all of this is so very individual and we all have different brains. Also, people who became addicted at a very young age generally take longer to recover than those who developed an addiction in their 20s, for example. So the timeline is created from an average of what I have seen on hundreds of NoFap journals over the years, so it could very well apply to you. That said, it may also be that it doesn't and that you'll recover faster or need even more time. Alright, but let's get going. Day 1. Day 1 is often pretty good because you have a vision of a new and better life. And you should try to hold on to this vision as you reboot because it helps. Day 3. When having an addiction to something, the dopamine in your reward center is already lower than normal. Now on day 3 it slowly starts to decline and drop even further, making you feel worse than before you quit. But stay strong here. Improvements will come later. Day 4. The stress center in your brain becomes more hyperactive. This is because the brain interprets an addiction as something that is extremely important for survival. So it literally thinks that you are doing something dangerous by quitting. So it tries to alarm you by activating the stress center. And this is true for all addictions, by the way. Day 5. The dopamine continues to drop even further, and in combination with the hyperactive stress center, this is the point when many NoFappers start to feel really bad. Irritability, cravings, brain fog, and lack of motivation are all very common symptoms right about now. Day 7. The temporary testosterone spike that happens on day 7 is not noticeable for everyone, and this is precisely because the dopamine levels are so low. Many people simply feel too bad right now to notice the testosterone spike that happens. Days 8 to 9. Now the testosterone levels drop back down and every feel-good hormone and brain chemical inside your body is now suppressed. This is often the worst time of rebooting. Hold on tight and pursue patience. Day 10. The flatline hits. Probably as a result of all the above. This means that your libido completely dies. It is like someone pulled out the plug of whatever machinery that drives attraction and libido. Even if you see a very attractive girl, you have no physical response in your body whatsoever. Around day 11, according to research, the sensitized pathways in your brain actually grow stronger by now. So what does that mean then? Well, we have pathways in our brain to pretty much all activities. Think of the pathway as walking in a field of grass. At first, it's heavy going because no one has walked there before. But the more you take the same route, the more you tramp down the grass. And so the easier it becomes to take that exact same route again. A sensitized pathway is a pathway to an addiction activity. It is like a super route in that grass field. One could call it a super memory of pleasure. And in the second week after quitting an addiction, the sensitized pathways unfortunately grow even stronger. So this means that if you are hit by a trigger right now, you react even stronger to them than you did a week ago. Day 14. About 2 weeks in, your cravings will very slowly start to get better and start to decline. However, only when you are not presented with a trigger. This is precisely because of the sensitized pathway still being stronger than normal. If you are presented with a trigger, the cravings still get really bad. Day 15. Addiction transfer. When entering the third week, you still have very low levels of dopamine, and your brain is getting tired of that. It noticed that it's not getting its dopamine from fapping anymore, so it desperately makes you seek for other dopamine boosting activities. So it's very normal to see increased use of cigarettes, junk food, and so on right around here. Now, I strongly recommend physical exercise to boost the dopamine a bit. But don't be too hard on yourself if you eat a bit more junk food or smoke more cigarettes right now. Now is not the time to quit smoking. You have to get over this hump first, so be kind to yourself here. Day 16. The flatline is very deep and many NoFappers even stop getting morning wood. Now, the flatline can come and go, and it's so different for everyone that it's hard to put into a timeline like this. But for some people, the flatline will go away after 3 to 4 weeks. But then it can also come back for a second time a few weeks later. Day 30. The prefrontal cortex of your brain is slowly starting to get stronger and stronger. This is the part of your brain that is responsible for self-control. This is great because now rebooting is starting to become a bit easier. Day 40. Finally, the sensitized pathways is starting to get weaker. Now, it does not happen overnight. It's a long process, but right around here they start the process of becoming weaker and weaker. But you still have to be very careful with triggers though. Day 50. The dopamine in your reward system is now slowly starting to rise. It will continue to rise for several weeks from now. Day 60. Some NoFappers are starting to see a return of their morning woods right around here. And that's of course great, as it's a real sign of recovery. Day 90. A study where they got animals addicted to heavy drugs showed that by day 90 after quitting, the dopamine levels had returned back to normal levels in 60% of the animals. Now, of course, that was an animal study, and we are talking about NoFap here and not heavy drugs, but the 60% seem to be in line with what is going on for NoFappers as well. About 60% are feeling much better after 90 days, and if they have done some rewiring as well, many of them have a normal and healthy libido by now, and everything is working fine with real life girls. Day 150. About 90% are now fully recovered, with strong motivation, confidence, libido, and attraction to real life people, and no more problems in the bedroom or with getting things to work. Okay, so there you have it. Again, remember that your results may vary greatly, and it also depends a lot on how you spend your time during your NoFap journey. There are, for example, some things you can do to speed up your recovery, and I have also made a video on how to do just that. You can see that video on the screen right now. Just click on that and go take a look at how to speed up your NoFap recovery if you're interested in that. Alright, that's it for today. This is Scandinavian Bob signing out, and remember, as Winston Churchill used to say, if you are going through hell, keep going.